Well, Grandpa, could you tell me some of the stories that you have about being on your ship in World War II?
Yes, as best I can remember, this has been better than 50 years ago. I was on a destroyer, the USS Ringgold, and it was a brand new ship. We had a crew of 300 officers and men, and we were proud of that ship because it was brand new, right off the assembly line. We put her in commission in January of 1943. And this is a picture of the ship. It had 5 5-inch guns, 4 40mm anti-aircraft guns, 4 20mm anti-aircraft guns, and 6 depth charge racks, 4 torpedo tubes. The ship weighed 2,100 tons, and it was a fighting ship. We went into many battles with it, and we came out successful. In January of 1941, I graduated from high school. I got a job. And in December of 1941, December 7th, on the way home from work, I heard on the radio that Japan had destroyed the American fleet at Pearl Harbor. What a shock. We never expected something like that. President Roosevelt came on the radio at that time. We didn't have television like we do now. And he said that Japan had attacked our fleet at Pearl Harbor and destroyed most of it. He said, "This day shall live in infamy." So in 1942, of October, about the 28th of October, I enlisted in the United States Navy. I was trained in boot camp at Great Lakes, Illinois. And in January of 1943, I went aboard the USS Ringgold. We plied the waters of the Atlantic for a while, went down to Trinidad, went to Cuba. Finally, we took a convoy of 48 merchant ships and about 19 destroyers over to the Casablanca. We met up with a few enemy submarines, but they didn't do any damage. And 4 days later, we brought the empty ships back to the United States. And we went over to the Panama Canal, through the Panama Canal into the Pacific Theater, and to Pearl Harbor, where we were stationed. That was our station point then. And we worked the islands from Wake Island down through the Marianas, the Gilbert Islands, clear on into Japan itself before it was over. One of the most outstanding experiences that I remember was in the Gilbert Islands in 1943, the island of Tarawa. It was a heavily fortified Japanese-held island. We shelled the island. We started at 4 o'clock in the morning. We held Rebellion. And we had battleships, we had cruisers, we had aircraft carriers and destroyers, all bombarding the island. Then the aircraft took off with the carriers, and they dive bombed the island. We thought we'd had it beat to a pulp. So we sent in the Marines on the landing craft. As the Marines neared the island, enemy gunfire came from somewhere and killed most of the Marines that were trying to land. We didn't know exactly at that time where the firing was coming from, but we soon found out there was a pier, a boat pier, stuck out from the island there about 50 feet. Japanese soldiers were underneath that pier, up to their chin in the water, their rifles above the water, sticking off the Marines before they could get on the boats. So we turned our number 5 5-inch gun around and blew it out of the water. that ended that. So the Marines got on the island, and they had a hard time getting up because there was a cliff there. So they picked up these dead Marines that they could find there, and they made steps out of them, climbed over the dead Marines up onto the island. And most of the Japanese then were in cement tunnels under the island, walls that were about 8 foot thick. So they had a hard time getting to them. So what the Marines did, they took their flamethrowers, put it in the air vents, and roasted them alive. We lost about most of the 2nd Division of U.S. Marines there, about 5,000 men. What a terrible price to pay for an island in the Pacific. We had most of the injured Marines aboard our ship because we had a doctor aboard. And they were on our top deck waiting to see the doctor. He was laying around the torpedo tubes and everything. Before we got out of there, the shore batteries opened up on us. They had 5-inch guns on the shore. And one of those shells skimmed across the waterline, hit our ship in the after engine room, went through the ship, and embedded itself into the switchboard. That put out all the electricity in the after part of the ship. Water was coming in. The engineering officer went down and plugged the hole with his posterior. He received the medal for that until someone could get a mattress and plug the hole up with. Another shell came through our sick bay, which is up on top side, went through the sick bay, out the other side, fell on the deck and spun around. Another sailor picked the shell up and threw it overboard. Neither one of them exploded. And I tell my kids, the reason that those shells didn't explode is because they were made in Japan. We had many more experiences like that. We had to go for repairs right after that to Ulithi Atoll, where we moored alongside a destroyer tender, the USS Cascade, and they put a temporary patch on the hole that was at the waterline. And then we went back to Pearl Harbor for permanent repair. And we took many islands after that, 11 in all, starting with Wake Island, down to the Gilbert Islands, the Marshall Islands, Enewetak. We even went into Japan and bombed Tokyo.
Did you come out successful when you bombed Tokyo?
What?
Did you come out successful?
Yes, we had very little resistance. The airplanes we escorted some aircraft carriers down there, and they took off about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, flew over Tokyo, and dropped their load, and there was very little resistance. In 1945, we went back again, went in to one of the bays down there, shelled an aircraft factory, an aluminum factory, set many fires, and there was 2 destroyers, ours and another one, that went through there. We were fearful of landmine or sea mines there that could hit or could blow our ship up, but we didn't encounter any. Shortly after that, in 1945, the atomic bomb in Hiroshima was exploded. And just about a month later, the armistice was signed. Japan surrendered. We were glad it was on our way home. I was discharged in December 31st of 1945, and was home about January 2nd. Now, that was a war that was supposed to end all wars. But today, as I see it, we're more insecure than we were then. Because there's been many more wars since then. Korean War, the Vietnam War, maybe the Persian Gulf War. Now it looks like there may be one over in Africa in Bosnia. So, war really doesn't solve man's problems. It's only God's kingdom that can bring wars to an end. And since then, I've learned more about God, about His promises for mankind, and He will bring about peace on earth, life without death, without famine, and without hatred.